Not really.
Since journal editing is one of the most powerful and useful ways to enter information into job journals, we have been looking forward to getting a chance to talk about it. In fact, throughout all the modules in job journals, you will find journal areas that are essentially free-form rich text documents where you are encouraged to add content in whatever organizational format that makes the most sense to you. There has never been a more compelling argument that it should be all about you. So we will slow things down and do a deep dive into the details of editing and formatting. We have done a lot of work to keep things simple, and that means deciding what not to do. You need to be able to work effectively, so we remove the visual noise when possible. We don't do complicated. Keeping things streamlined means there is almost nothing to learn. Everything works the way you think it will. And aside from covering all the bases with regard to formatted text, journals will even let you cut and paste images from the clipboard into your journal notes. Hopefully, all of this has piqued your interest, and we'll see you on the other side. And here we are again. Let's slow things down for a brief moment to walk you through all the different formatting options that are available to you. We have already gotten started by creating a journal for our demonstration. However, all the journals in all the modules will work the same way. The first thing you will notice is that when your journal is in edit mode, there is a toolbar across the top of the journal area. When you save or exit, that toolbar will disappear. We can see that the first two tools are drop-down menus, and the first one is to select a typeface. You can choose between sans serif, serif, and monospace, and the selection is applied to any text that you have selected in the journal area. The top line is sans serif by default, and it looks like this. However, if we take this text and set it to serif, you get something that looks like that. And monospace looks like this, so you get 3 different typefaces. Type style usage changes like fashion, so feel free to use them however you like. However, we find that serif typefaces are often useful for titling. So if we took this text and wanted to make this into a title, we can take and make that as a serif typeface, and let's make it really big. So we have a title, and the others are very good for content. But as we've said, you can use anything anywhere. It's your choice. And as you saw, the second dropdown is for sizing. We have a small size, we have normal, which is that, and then we have large, which is very good for subtitles and even titles within your content. And then finally, we have huge. It's worth mentioning that we are not writing a professional white paper here. Many standard rules of such documents do not apply. What matters is readability and ease of use, so if using only the large sizes works for you, feel free to do that. And now moving on to our styling buttons, the very first one is bold. So if we select the text and click on the button, that will make that text bold. It makes it stand out from standard text. It's a stronger treatment for the typeface. The next tool button makes the text italic, then we have underline text, and then strike through. Strike through is particularly useful if you have some text that you want to keep around. You don't want to delete it because then you lose it forever. So rather than deleting it, you strike it through to show that maybe it is somehow different from regular items. You might have a list of items and you might strike through different things in the list as you finish them. This is a lot like crossing off items with paper and a pencil. The next styling button is quote. I almost never use this for quoting other people. Instead, whenever I have some text that I want to set apart from regular text, I will use the quote. So if you have some content where we want to show it as a different type of thing, then you can do that. Note that if the text wraps around the text area, it will show as one block. However, if you hit a carriage return, you are starting a new quote block. Next, for any of these types we have discussed, you can add color. So this is color text. Another color. Let's make that purple, and let's make both of these big so we can more easily see them. And let's make it all bold. The next one is a lot like highlighting, but what it does is to take the space behind the text and gives it a color. You can do all sorts of effects with that. A common favorite is to switch things around by using a light color against a dark background. So you can create different effects by controlling both the color of the text and the background. This is just one more way you can make information very easy to find visually in your journal. For one more example, let's make that text white. Normally, you would not even see it, but if we take and make the background dark, now you've got light text on a dark background. A A fundamental visual structure for organizing and presenting information is a list format. The next two are two different types of lists, which are numbered lists and bullet lists, the latter for times when you don't need numbers. So in this case, let's make item 1 part of a numbered list. Once you have a list, hitting return will extend that list by automatically creating additional list items. Also, there is a shortcut for creating numbered lists. For example, you can start with a 1, and if you follow that with a space, it becomes a list item. So that's the shortcut for numbered lists. Bullet lists are similar, but they have just a little marker in front of them instead of being numbered, and they work in exactly the same way. There is a shortcut for those too. If you start with an asterisk followed by a space, it becomes an item in a bullet list. And there you have it. One final toolbar feature that you might find very useful is the ability to embed hyperlinks. These are clickable URL link targets for other locations that you might want to keep handy. If you want to embed a URL in your journal, you type the text that you want as the label, select that text, and when you click the toolbar button, a small window opens. By default, it puts the text you selected there, but we will paste a link right into that field and we'll save it. Now you have the text that has been converted into a clickable link. And if you were to click on this, then it would take you to that location. If you wanted to just use that by itself, you could create a directory of clickable links to go all over the internet. That's if you wanted to. That pretty much covers the whole toolbar, except for the last button. This option is like an undo button for formatting. If you select any journal text, the TX button will remove all formatting, leaving you with only the text. And so we will end where we began, and this is what that looks like. We have all of our original text without any of the formatting and can go back and do it all again. Just to recap, we have our typefaces, our type style, we have our type size, we have bold, we have italic, underline, strike through, and then we have quoted text. We have colors for the text, we have background color highlighting, and our two list types, numbered lists and bullet lists, and then finally we can embed links. Well, that is journal editing for Job Journals workspaces. We hope you have enjoyed this walkthrough, but we have one more thing we would like to show you, so give us just a moment. And we're back. Now, journals tend to be most effective when working with text, but sometimes a picture can jog your memory in ways that text alone cannot. This is what you might call a nice-to-have feature for some, but others might think it is more essential. So, the journal has the ability to paste images from the clipboard directly into the text area. The details of how you get that image to the clipboard in the first place is left up to you, since there are lots of different ways you might do that depending on the platform you are using. Since our demo is running on Windows, we are using the key combination of Start plus Shift plus the S key. That gives you a cursor to define an area to capture to the clipboard. Once it is on the clipboard, you can go to your journal and paste with Ctrl-V to paste the image into the journal. Note that you can do a lot with this simple action. Also, you can remove images by backspacing the edit cursor as if the image was a letter that you typed. And voila! There you have it. That is a maximum amount of expressive and organizational power purpose-built into a Job Journals workspace. You will find JJ Journals available in every module, each with their own special purpose. Finally, you will have the tools you need to be at your competitive best. So what are you waiting for? Jump into your Job Journals workspace today and start building a brighter tomorrow.